Thank you, all of you, for being here. We are going to start with the event because we already wasted some time. So welcome to today's event. Today we have three great women leaders who are going to help us to discuss on the topic, rebranding oneself in a transitional world, becoming a woman of value. With me, my name is Amalachukwu Moughalu, and I have with me Anna. Anna? Yes.
Hi, my name is Anna, and I'm also the co-moderator for today.
Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and start. So the next slide, we have to request for control. Anna, can I have control? I can't control the slide. Or you just help me to press next.
I just gave you the control, Amala. Let me go on.
Can you just help me and press next? Yeah, thank you. All right. So today we have on this to discuss and to go through today. We are going to talk about have some moments of safety, and then we go ahead to introduce our keynote speaker and have our keynote address. After that, we are going to move immediately to our panel discussion, starting with the introduction of the panelists and then the panel session itself. And then just to wrap everything up, we are going to have a WooClap quiz, a trivia on women leaders in our industry and in the world at large. And after that, we are going to have a photograph session to have something to remember this day by. And then we'll close with a closing remark from our panelists and from the moderators. Thank you. Jocelyne, sorry, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Traffic on the road. We are sorry for that. We don't know what went wrong with the link. We are so happy to have you here. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
For the next thing, Anna, just help me just move next. Okay. Like I said, we're going to have a safety moment, and our safety moment is on breast cancer awareness. This deadly disease has taken many lives of women, and we thought it wise to just create an awareness for it in this meeting. So breast cancer is known to affect 1 in every 8 women, and is a very deadly one. And we have this just 3 short tips to help us to remind us to use these tips to manage and prevent and for early detection of this deadly disease. So we have the number 1 is the doctors recommend that we perform regular examination of the breast, and in case we find any lump or we suspect anything, we should go direct to meet doctors to find out what is wrong. And then another very important tip is to schedule a mammogram annually. A mammogram will look deeply into the breast to look for any cancerous cells, report it. And then the last very important and easiest of them all is to eat healthy and exercise often. So for our next, thank you for paying attention to that. So for the next thing, we are going to go direct to our event and start with the keynote address and panelists. And at this junction, I will hand over to Anna to head this session.
Thank you, Amala, for your introduction. I'm glad to announce our keynote speaker and our panelists for today, starting with Ezinne Nnebocha. I'm sorry for my pronunciation. She's a manager of East, Central, and South Africa Schlumberger. Next, we have our panelist, Jocelyne Machevo. She's in the energy industry. She's also a diversity, equity, and inclusion expert, and also an ex-Total Energies. We also have as panelist Cecile Pabian-Goyheneche. Please, I'm sorry for my pronunciation again. She's retired principal advisor in the geoscience sector, and she's also an ex-Total Energies. Meeting our keynote speaker for today, which is one of the great women that, well, I have seen here. She has an extensive profile, and well, let's dig into it. Ezinne Nnebocha is a business leader with over 17 years experience across the Middle East and Africa. She works for Schlumberger as the regional sales and marketing manager for Central, East, and South Africa, and she's based in Angola. Prior to this, she was the production domain champion for Sub-Saharan Africa. Ezinne started her career as a production engineer, and over the past years, she has worked in different disciplines where she has championed numerous key projects in Africa around production enhancement and optimization, completions design, intelligent well design, horizontal well optimization, and reservoir management. A high-achieving expert with demonstrated technical excellence and business leadership in the energy sector. Ezinne holds a Bachelor in Engineering from University of Port Harcourt, a Master in Science in Petroleum Engineering from Heriot-Watt University, and a Global MBA from INSEAD. Ezinne is a wife and mother of 3. She's passionate about STEM education, youth training and development, female leadership, and empowerment. She has given over 500 hours of training to young professionals, engineers, and students within and outside Schlumberger. Ezinne believes you can work hard and play hard. It's not a compromise. So, well, we have seen, once again, an extensive profile and with great experience as well. And I would like now to give the floor to Ezinne to make a keynote address on the topic that we have for today. To you, Ezinne.
Thank you very much, Anna. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to share my screen if that's okay. Do I have rights to share? Yes, okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, fantastic. So let me share my screen. Okay, just give me a second. So let me know if you can see my screen. Okay.
Yes, I can see the screen.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Anna, and good afternoon to everyone on the call. Today, I'm going to be talking about rebranding yourself in a transitional world and becoming a woman of value. Anna has already introduced me, so I don't need to introduce myself again. So in terms of agenda, I'm going to look at it across 3 pillars. One is defining your key, going from perception to intersection, the future, and defining your roadmap. Okay, I thought this was my best way to communicate what I wanted to share today, and I hope that it's interesting and you gain something from it. So we know that key is meant to mean, like an internal energy to our central being. But in this case, I'm using key in my definition as 3 things that I think are quite important in understanding yourself. Okay. Before you can talk about branding or rebranding yourself, you have to start with understanding you. And this is where this key came from. What are your core values? What is your happiness factor? And what is your inspiration? when I talk about core values here, core values are the things that are central to your being, okay? And your core values usually is as a result of your childhood, growing up, experiences you've had, your friends, right? Things that have shaped you in becoming who you are. So you can be very determined, you can be very passionate about STEM, like I say I am, you can be passionate about music. There are so many things that are actually going to your core value, but it's important to understand your core value, because when you know who you are, then you can determine who you want to be. And then if I talk about the happiness factor, so happiness factor here is really looking at the key things that make you happy, okay? We all have different upbringings, we all have different things that give us joy. And if you don't define your happiness factor, you'll be stuck in somebody else's happiness factor. And why is it important? You know, you find out that as you grow in your career and as you get older in life, you have a family, you make more sacrifices. And if you're not focused on what makes you happy, you might even start losing it without knowing. Okay, you might get to a point in your career, realize that you're stuck in a rat race and you're just not happy. So understanding your happiness factor and writing this down is a very important way to make sure that, you know, as you progress in life, as you grow in your career, that you keep an eye on these key factors. And the last one in defining your key is what I would call inspiration. So the inspiration is your motivation, right? Inspiration is not necessarily where you are today, but where you aspire to be. Inspiration is what you lie in bed at night and think about, right? Say, I would like to be a pilot. I want to run my own company. I want to be a CEO. I want to build a school that helps children. I want to train people. So all these are things that inspire you, make you want to be a better person, makes you want to help, makes you want to contribute to the society, okay? So this is your inspiration. Now, when we talk about rebranding, it is very important to understand this key. Everybody has a key, your core values, your happiness factor, what makes you happy, and your inspiration. And you find out that once you can get these 3 points down first, it helps you as you grow in creating your brand, okay? So my next slide, I'm going to talk about perception, okay? And perception here is looking outwardly, right? We talked about key. So your key is you looking inwardly at yourself to identify these 3 core pillars. Now, perception is trying to understand other people's point of view, okay? And it's important to understand that it doesn't mean that it's going to define who you are, but it's important to see how people see you, because you will be amazed what you will learn, right? People might see you in a different light from how you see yourself. They might even recognize strengths in you that you've never actually acknowledged. I've had quite a lot of feedback or 360 sessions where some of the feedback given to me is a surprise, things that I'm not aware of, either things that I do consciously by nature and don't even realize is a strength, or in some cases, things that I do that maybe irritate other people and I'm not even aware of it, right? So perception is important, because when you understand how others view you, you can put that together to create your brand of who you want to be and where you're going. Now, from perception, I'm going into introspection, okay? So feedback is important. You know, it's not always easy to take feedback, and I'm going to start, you know, with myself. When people give us feedback, we love to hear positive feedback. It makes you feel good. You're rewarded. Oh, fantastic, good job, you're excellent. It makes you feel good. It makes all of us feel good, and we cannot deny this, right? But the one that is more difficult to deal with is the negative or constructive feedback, right? Where people point out what they think are flaws in you. And I'm going to talk about that later, right? So this is actually, very, very important. Why? Because it's power. If you can understand how people see you outside of yourself, it gives you power and strength, because then you can create your own narrative. You can create the message, you can create your brand. But if you're shy to get feedback, honest feedback from people, if you're shy to get honest feedback from people, you would never know how they see you, right? You would be in the shadows. And the other thing on feedback is, when people take feedback sometimes, depending on your persona, you might be very sensitive. You might take the feedback very seriously and start to change or alter yourself. Feedback is good to change, continuous improvement, and to build the brand on who you want to be. But you don't let the feedback define you. You have to take the feedback, you have to take the perception, go back and think about it inwardly, do some introspection, and come out with your own narrative. Okay, and that narrative is who you want to be, and that means you have you have your key, you have the perception that others have highlighted, some of it positive, some of it negative, and then you put everything together and create your own narrative. And when you create your narrative, it's actually impossible, or it makes it more difficult for somebody to create a different narrative about you, right? Because it's a brand you want to create. An image. Who are you? Who do you want people to see you as? You want people to say, oh, I know this person. I know Ezinne. I know Immaculate. I know Anna. Oh, she's intelligent. She's focused. She's this, she's that, right? So that is a perception, okay? You can let people make whatever interpretation they have, and sometimes it's not always correct, or you can control that narrative so that it's easier for people around you to come to the same conclusion, your colleagues, your friends, your family, etc. So you have to take this perception and your key, go and do some introspection and come up with your narrative. And I'm going to talk about some examples on how we can do this. So let's look at creating your own perspective, right? Based on feedback and perception about you. So imagine that somebody gave you feedback and said, oh, you're very aggressive and opinionated. You might feel a bit hurt, like, why is this person saying this? Or the natural tendency, let's assume it's a professional environment in the office, maybe the next time you show up for a meeting, you might change, you might try to change your persona because you say, oh, I don't want people to see me as aggressive and opinionated. So I'm going to try to be a little bit more quiet. I'm going to try not to voice my opinion, but the problem is that you're changing yourself, right? I read an article from, actually more than one article, but it was a really good one on Harvard Business Review that talked about women and sometimes the glass ceilings that we have to break through in our careers. And one of the issues that was mentioned is the likability factor, right? A lot of women have a tendency to want to be accepted, to be liked and appreciated. And that sometimes can make you change from your persona. So if someone gives you this kind of feedback, you feel a little bit hurt, you want to change, you want to be more accepted, and then you start changing. But you don't need to, because this can also be turned into a positive light. So for example, how do you turn that into a positive light? If someone gives you that feedback, you'll come back, and how you need to sell your narrative is, I'm very passionate and I fight for what I believe in. So you're going from being aggressive and opinionated to being passionate and fighting for what you believe in. And it becomes positive because in certain areas, in certain careers and different environments, everybody wants that person in the team who can fight for what they believe in, right? So then you've turned the perception into your own narrative and your own perspective. Another point can be on the flip side, you can get a feedback where someone says, oh, you're too passive and you don't seem to have an opinion. This is the exact opposite of being aggressive and opinionated, right? And then that might also hurt you and go back to think. And it's okay, because if you look at the success pillars of having a successful team or a work environment, you need to have people of different personalities in the team for you to be successful. You cannot have everybody aggressive and opinionated. So if you're someone who's maybe on the little bit passive side, and someone gives you this feedback that, oh, you don't seem to have an opinion, you can turn that into your narrative to say, I work very well in teams to ensure that objectives are met in a collaborative environment. So now you've turned yourself from a passive person into saying, look, I am a collaborator. In that team, I'm that person. I'm the glue that holds the team together. I'm not too aggressive or opinionated, but I observe, I work, and I make sure that the team objectives are met. Because if everybody is aggressive, everybody is opinionated, at the end of the day, you might not get any work done. Okay, so you see that you can actually take this feedback and perception from others and turn it into your own narrative. And then next, I'm going to talk about the industry, okay? Because we're going from a place of who we are inwardly, your drivers, your core values, your happiness factor, your inspiration, to how people see you, and then to your narrative, the narrative you're trying to create, meaning controlling the message that people see and people have about you, okay? And finally, to tie this all in the industry is understanding what is happening around you, okay? All these are kind of like soft skills, personal skills, your personal brand, which is very important, right? You cannot have a job or a career without you. But the next question is, what is happening in the future? What is next? Okay, what am I doing in my day-to-day life? How does that impact the world around me? What skills do I have? Where is the gap? Now, this SP, as you know, I'm a petroleum engineer. I have both my bachelor's and my master's degree in petroleum engineering. And a lot of times, people come and I get a question of especially from the young professionals about, oh, the future for petroleum engineers and oil and gas, because the world is transitioning and energy is transitioning. And this is true. Energy transition is real. It's happening. But that shouldn't make you feel like the skills and the experience you have, they are worthless. You know, you can say, oh, I've been doing reservoir simulation, for example, for 10, 15 years, and this is all I know. But guess what? Even in reservoir engineering, reservoir simulation, there are some transferable skills that you have. And these are the things that you need to start writing down. As an example, you can say, oh, I am very detailed and I pay attention to details to get to solve the challenge. Okay? You know, you have to do simulation, you have to look at a lot of numbers. You need a lot of patience sometimes when you have to build models and work on projects for a long period of time. That is also a strength. Or you can say, oh, I'm a geologist and I've been, you know, you've been doing geology for X years, but geologists, a lot of times you have to see the big picture. You have to go from these small images into stepping back and looking at the big picture and creating this map or this geology of your interpretation. So that is also a strength. So instead of thinking of the fact that I'm just a geologist, you're going to be turning that into, look, I'm very experienced and skilled at seeing the big picture. I know how to put small details together to create a big picture, to see the macros and the environment around me. Automatically, you've already changed that brand, right? And you will see some job posts and requests where they ask for things like this. Some of them are looking for people that are detailed, analytics. Some are looking for people that know how to skim through a lot of data quickly to get a big picture, right? So once you start writing these transferable skills, it's very important, right? Then, of course, things like being a team player, leadership, projects in sustainability, volunteering, these are really important things. And it's also good to know how your actions impact the world, right? Sometimes you might feel that, okay, being in in oil and gas in the transitional world, you know, what is my value, right? But, you know, the truth is that the world is transitioning. But guess what? As the world is transitioning, we still need engineers that are intelligent, smart, that can make the right decisions. That means that the knowledge that we have today of the impact of our actions on the environment makes all of us better people, right? When we become leaders in the industry, right? So you're actually better positioned because you have the knowledge of the business, you understand the reservoir, you understand drilling, you understand completions, geology, petrophysics, etc. But at the same time, you have new knowledge and empowerment about the impact of your actions on the environment. And therefore, you're in a better position to lead this transition. Or it could be even in digital transformation, where you can take some of the skills from the programming and from simulations that you have and turn that right into helping the industry go through this digital transformation phase. Then you can become a leader there. So the question you have to ask yourself today is, what skills do I have? And you need to make a laundry list of skills and try to convert. Don't just focus on the skills being too specific. So when you write the specific skills, then you translate that into transferable skills that can be applied in any other industry, similar to some of the examples I've given. And with this, you go back to your key on your inspiration. Your inspiration is, where do you want to be in the future? Do you want to have a technology company? Do you want to be in STEM? Do you want to even leave the technology industry altogether and go into something else? Once you identify where you want to be in the future, whether it's 5 years, 2 years, or 10 years down the line, then you can create a map of your gaps, right? The gap in the skills that you need to take you to where you want to be in the future. And when you create this gap, you can now make a list and know, okay, I need to do A, B, C, D to get me to the next level. And what are the actionable steps that I'm going to take? So this is where you get to the point of defining your roadmap. Defining your roadmap, converting your experience into transferable skills that I mentioned. You have to write this down. And then imagining your ideal future. Where do you want to be? What kind of career do you aspire for yourself? Where do you want to work? Which country do you want to live in, right? Do you want to work forever, or do you see yourself as an entrepreneur owning your own business, right? If you know what you want to do in the future, and it might not be one thing, right? It's they are very, it doesn't happen very often that you're so sure and focused. It's okay. Most times we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ideas. You might say, okay, I think I can do this. I think I can do that. And it's okay to write all of them down, because what happens is when you write it down, eventually one of them, you might see yourself being narrowed and automatically gravitating to one of those particular anchors. And then you create your skill gap. This skill gap is looking at where you are today, the experience you have, whether you're this is SP, so you're, I don't know, geologist or petrophysicist or petroleum engineer or production engineer, and where you want to go, even if you want to remain a petrophysicist, right? But you can also define what kind of work you want to do. Do you aspire to be a leader in the future? And based on this, you start creating a skill gap, or I need to attend some leadership courses, or I want to be an entrepreneur, but I don't have business experience, so I need to attend some entrepreneurship courses, or I need to go into digital transformation, and I need to learn or get some more skills in cloud or programming. So this is your skill gap. And finally, you need to know your substance. So substance is something that is tangible, right? It's and if you go by the definition. And why am I saying it's important? Look, if you look back at a few years ago, before COVID, right? I mean, we would typically not do this kind of thing online. Almost everything was done in person. But guess what? When you have conferences or you meet people in person, it gives you an edge because you have the ability to connect in a more physical way. You have an ability to make eye contact in person, to have a handshake. You have the ability to even create, if the physical presence that is appealing, whether we like it or not. Humans are physical people. We admire nice things. You admire nice cars, you admire nice trees, you admire nice buildings, nice clothes, etc. So when you have that physical presence, it was a little bit easier to create your message and definition of who you want to be. But look at where we are today. We are at a place where we are not hiding behind screens, but we were forced behind screens because of COVID. Now, that means that you've lost 65% of the ways in which you would have typically made an impact when you had interactions face to face. Therefore, you need to really dig deep to bring out substance in your interactions. I mean, today we have the videos on, but you can go for a meeting where everybody's video is off. You can't see who's presenting to you. They cannot see you. All they're seeing is your voice and your message. So you need to make sure that you have your message right. You need to know your substance. There's really little room for you to, just get away with haphazard messages or presentations or technical work. So you need to really up your game. And this is what I mean by knowing your substance. And finally, make an actionable plan. What are you going to do today to get you to where you want to be? You have to write that plan today. An actionable plan means something that you can do that is specific, achievable, and is time-bound. So today you write, I'm going to do cloud training by June 2022. Or I'm going to do some business courses by December 2022. You need to create an actionable plan that is very specific, that is actionable, and is time-bound. And finally, this is my last slide. I want you to emerge as a new person, to emerge rebranded in who you want to be, to emerge with the message that you want to pass to others, right? You cannot let people create their narrative or their perception or message of you. You have to take it into your own hands. You have to create your narrative. You have to pass the right message across. But before you do that, you must do some soul searching. Go inward to look at your key, get feedback from others to get perception and define your own perspective and your own narrative. And finally, define where you want to go and create an action plan. So this is my last slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ezinne, for this insightful presentation. I believe that we had a lot to learn from this presentation. And one of the key thoughts to take into account is that we need to know where we are and where do we want to go from this point. Or in other words, I would say, dare to dream. As for now, I would like to continue introducing our panelists. I would like to start with Jocelyne Machevo, who is an award-winning Mozambican energy professional with an expertise in LNG projects in Mozambique. She started her career as a civil engineer at ENI, an international energy company, where she had several roles in the projects department and acquired skills in project management, business development, gas and LNG supply contracts, stakeholders management, local content development, and community development initiatives. She was the first woman and the first Mozambican to hold an executive position at ENI Rovuma Basin, ENI subsidiary in Mozambique. At the end of 2020, she joined Total Exploration and Production Mozambique as interface lead in the biggest LNG project in Mozambique, the Mozambique LNG. She's currently working as an independent consultant in the areas business development, stakeholders engagement, local content development, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. Jocelyne holds a degree in civil engineering from Matusse and a master's degree in economy and management of energy and environment from ENI Corporate University in Milan, Italy. She's also a Young African Leader Initiative Fellow. She attended the first cohort of Power Africa, Women in Africa Power in 2018. Throughout her career, Jocelyne was presented with the 2017 Outstanding Mozambican Women in Gas and LNG Award by Mozambique Gas Summit, the 2019 Power Play Rising Star Award powered by ExxonMobil, and the 2020 Grid Awards by Ally, and the 2021 Excellence Award, Women in Oil and Gas Angola by ICIPA. She's also a vocal advocate for women inclusion in the energy sector in Mozambique and worldwide, as well as youth engagement in leadership. Currently, she's the ambassador for Mozambique Women in Energy and Power Play initiatives that aim to celebrate the women who are playing key roles in this important industry and promote the efforts to create a more diverse and sustainable energy future. Well, we have another amazing profile here to take as an example. And next, I would like to introduce our other panelist, Cecile, who is a retired geoscience discipline advisor for developed senior CNG staff in Total Energies. She's a geologist graduated from the University of Paris 11 Orsay in 1981 and the IFB school, which she had her major in geology in 1983. She joined Total Energies in 1984 as sedimentologist in Po Technical Center and worked as specialist in different exploration and development projects. She moved then to technical team leader positions for field development projects in Africa, France, and North Sea, and manager of exploration and production integrated studies technical network. She was assigned 2 times as expatriate in Total Energies affiliates, in Netherlands first, then in Argentina as geology department manager. Last positions were in Po as head of corporate exploration and production multidisciplinary carbonates research program, then in Paris as NV exploration manager for Western Mediterranean area, member of corporate exploration technical advisors, and as last position, principal advisor in geoscience discipline corporate team until December 2020. She has been a lecturer at IFP School until 2021 and is involved in the IFP School Alumni Association Committee. We also have a lot to learn from Cecile, who is still here to teach us a lot. To begin our panel discussion around the topic, rebranding oneself in a transitional world, becoming a woman of value, I would like to start with a question directed to Cecile. Well, talking about perspective that we just heard on Ezinne's presentation. We would like to hear from you, Cecile. Over the course of your career, we have witnessed and gone through some changes in the sector. We would like to hear from you, what challenges were you faced with and how did you overcome them?
Well, thank you for inviting me, and thank you, Ezinne, for this very interesting talk. I agree for sure with a lot of what you said, and specifically on the fact that we must know who we are and where we want to go. Concerning my career, I think that the key word that drives myself was the word adaptability. And this word is very much now a modern word, I would say, because you will face challenges. In fact, challenges ahead are great, because in this transitional period for energy, you as a woman, professional woman, you will face with faster technological and strategic changes than my time. And really, I tried during my career to be adaptable, even if I imagine for myself an ideal like Ezinne described. Sometimes I had to move from a former orientation because the environment changes, and I had to decide another way to manage my career. So I moved, as you said, from technical positions to manager positions. I had to move abroad with my family. That was not so easy, as you can imagine. But in fact, if you know, and Ezinne explained that very well, if you know what are your priority, where is your happiness, you will easily decide for yourself and for the person you love as your family, in fact. I would like to give some message if you leave me the time to do so. Some message about the fact that you as woman, as professional, you are already a person of value. You have your importance in your organization, in the company where you work. If you think about the equilibrium, personal equilibrium and professional equilibrium, there are no rules, I think. It is a personal matter, but you have, please do not create artificial barriers. You must be sure of your potential and your ability to organize yourself. And you must know your potential, your skills. As Ezinne said, you must imagine what could be the future. It is difficult for sure now to imagine the future that is emerging from all current components, whatever they are, technological, economical, environmental, and societal. You will have to integrate new standards. You will have to adapt yourself to the environment. Really, for me, it is the key word. And you must, I think, behave in accordance with your aspirations, your values, of course, in consistency with the organization where you work. You must act. You must play with your natural curiosity, creativity, listening, critical thinking, and common sense. And if you have the opportunity to manage people, do not forget that meaningful management with benevolence will be as much as powerful a powerful way to manage as another way to manage that is more, I would say, standard for the masculine people. But really act not as a woman, but as a professional in your organization. Think as a professional and do not think as a woman. You will have your personal problematics, but men have also personal problematics. And if you behave really in accordance with your values, everything will be all right. And Ezinne explained very well the different domains of thinking and how you can manage with different situations. I completely agree with what she said. Okay, but adaptability really is a key word in this transitional period for energy domain.
Thank you very much, Cecile, for this input. Cecile, who is retired and still devoted to imbibing the next generation with her unparalleled health of experience.
Thank you very much.
For the participants, please feel free to write down any questions in the chat box. Our guests would be enlightened to answer to your questions at the end of the panel discussion. Moving to Jocelyne Machevo, you are an award-winning professional. How did you become this woman of value? Is this how you envisioned yourself today? Is there one thing you wish you had known earlier in your career?
Thank you so much, Anna, for this question. It's really a great question, hey. And to start answering, well, I've never imagined that I could actually achieve all of that and in such a short time. And I think the main thing or the main reason why I did not imagine that is essentially because, you know, when you start your career in a male-dominated world, you just underestimate yourself, right? You don't have that confidence and that self-belief that you can excel in that field. So that's that was one of the things that happened to me. I started working in the oil and gas industry, and you know, I started doing my work as usual. You know, I was enjoying, I was happy because I really wanted to join the industry. But I could not imagine myself actually, you know, excelling and, you know, going up in positions and being promoted and all of that. But the main reason behind that was also because I did not have a plan. I did not know where I wanted to go. So just like Ezinne mentioned and Cecile as well, just highlighted as well, I think one of the key aspects is really to have a vision of where you want to go. It's for you to know, okay, in the 10 years, time I want to be, I mean, a managing director of a company. I want to be the manager of the technical department. You know, you really need to be able to see yourself in that position. That's the starting point, because it's impossible for you to attain if you cannot see it. So that's one of the things that I would have done differently. I would have drafted a plan much earlier. Because of all the advantages that brings. And just like Ezinne mentioned, because when you have a goal, you have a clear path on how to achieve that. So that's one of the things that I would have done definitely different. One of the challenges that I had as well in my career, and that's one of the things that I really want to encourage the young girls and, you know, every woman that is starting in this field, is building up on the question that you asked, Cecile, is what was the biggest challenge, you know, that she faced throughout her career? For me, the biggest challenge was actually inside of me, because it was really, you know, lack of self-confidence and self-belief. Because all the other challenges came from that. You know, when you are presented with the challenge, if you don't see yourself overcoming it, then that's a problem, right? So one of the things that I really want you to believe, to start with, is believe in yourself. Believe that you can do it. Believe that you can achieve it. Believe that you deserve the success as well. So that's one of the key things that I would really recommend. First, have a vision, have a plan of where you see yourself, you know, in 10 years time, in 5 year time. Make a specific plan on the skills that you need to acquire. For instance, if you want to be a managing director of, you know, NOC or an IOC, now it's not IOC anymore, right? Now it's international energy companies and not oil and gas, but have an idea. So if you want to be a managing director, you definitely have to have, you know, technical skills, commercial skills, financing skills, people management skills. So if you start, for instance, in my case, I started from a technical department. I moved up the ladder until a certain point, and I told myself, okay, I have already acquired enough in terms of technical experience. So now it's time to move and acquire different experience like commercial and financing, because I know where I want to go. So I have a clear plan, and I know, okay, what are the positions that I need to go, or what are the offers that I can accept that are going to help me to achieve what I want. So those are the advices that I would give to my earlier self. Actually, do that, but do that earlier in your career so that you don't waste time, and you're able to achieve what you want much earlier.
Thank you very much, Jocelyne. Wow, this discussion is becoming very interesting, and I'm sure we're learning a lot. Well, moving to Ezinne now, talking about resilience. Jocelyne just mentioned about self-confidence. My question to you is, was there a point in your career that made you want to quit?
Hi, that's a very, and thanks Jocelyne for sharing your story. Very, very interesting question. And the answer is going to be yes, of course, and possibly not once. You know, to be honest, you know, the industry that we're in, it's really tough. It's a tough one, and there are going to be challenges. So, I mean, personally, I have when I joined Schlumberger in 2007, I already had a baby. I was married, and so I was coming from a smaller oil servicing company. So I joined, and you know, I have to attend school for 8 weeks, you know, with a young child and of course a young marriage, and it's not easy. That's the first challenge. But you know, I always had my mom there, you know. I mean, she was probably the one reason, you know, like the behind the scenes secret of my success, because she would, you know, go with me to to training, and would stay 8 weeks in training school in wherever it was in the world, and you know, I would go to training in the morning, she would be with the baby, and then I'll come back in the evening, and I had to know. So I think that was one of the challenges, just, you know, initially just trying to balance my life with work pressures. And most of the times, to be honest, that I felt this way about wanting to quit is usually because of pressure. Because sometimes the pressure just gets a lot, and you know, I'm someone who's very passionate about what I do, and you know, and it gets to the point I'm like, you know, this is a lot, so I just need to decompress and come back to work. And actually, one of the things I'd never sacrificed on, you know, before COVID was a holiday. You know, I would make sure that, you know, when I take time off, that I have as much fun as I can, you know. I mean, it's almost like I reset my button, you know. I would still have my laptop and check my emails and everything, but I would play so hard and have so much fun. And then when I come back, I've reset and I feel better. So yeah, I have gone through that phase. I have gone through that point where I've thought of actually quitting, but somehow I found the strength to continue, you know, with the support from, you know, from the family, you know, from my husband, my mother, and, you know, just taking time out, you know, time out for yourself, let the stress just go, just breathe, and then come back refreshed and continue.
Thank you very much, Ezinne. That was very interesting. I'm taking notes. I hope everyone else is also taking notes on the learning of today. Well, I'd like now to move to a more general question. I'd like to know, how do we ensure that we're working toward, you know, sustainable energy goals without leaving women behind? I can start with Cecile, and Jocelyne and Ezinne, please feel free to also give an input on this. Cecile,
Yes,
to you.
yes. Well, is it? I think that the fact that we must move to a sustainable world, we have really hard challenges in front of us in order to make this world good for our children, our grandchildren, will not change anything about the fact that women must be respected as before. We as women, perhaps we are more resilient. We have more curiosity than men, for sure. We take time to think. We have a capacity of organize things because we are divided into two worlds, professional world and homework. And I think that we are really on the front line in order to guide the way companies and organizations will take the challenge in their hand. Really, we must fight for being in front of everything. But we are on the good way. I saw you young professionals with a very interesting career management positions. You are already in the place to do that. I think you must have the same questions as men, as everybody in the world, about what will be our future and how can we manage to make it the best as possible. But it will not change anything about your way to manage your professional way. The only thing, as Ezinne explained very well, is that the envelope, the mapping of the skills will change. And so you must be absolutely aware of what you can do, how you can make your own skill evolve into that new world, and what you can bring to your organization. But really, the challenge will be the same as before. You have to fight to be recognized as professional, as people of value. And as I said before, you are people of value. Take into your mind that you are people of value already. Okay, but of course you will have a key position into access into bringing the good orientations in your organizations to make this world sustainable. But there are so many parameters, external parameters to yourself, then that it is really difficult to face it. Having from now a complete image. We are in a world of uncertainty. We are in a world of high risk, and from your technical position, you are used to face this kind of uncertainty and risk into your technical or management role. So you will be able to face it when you will be in front of different environments, of different strategy. I'm sure of it.
Anna, if you allow me just to add as well on what Cecile was mentioning, I think when we talk about the sustainable development, I think, well, there is no other way for us to look at it but to go to the SDGs that we have. And since this webinar is about energy, I think it's important to highlight that, as we all know, women are the most affected by energy poverty, especially in the sub-Saharan Africa, right? So it's quite important that they are part of the solution, as everyone else, right? And plus, there have been a lot of studies, and numbers have shown that there is a lot of benefit. There are a lot of benefits in including women, in the workplace. So looking at the workplace, there is a lot of work that needs to be done by the companies themselves. They need to be intentional in creating a space, for women, to include them, and also creating an environment, that will allow them to grow and to blossom. Because I believe that it's not just about attracting them, it's about retaining and promoting them as well. So it's important that, companies and governments as well, they work and define instruments and such as like policies, incentives that actually are going to help to attract, to retain, and to promote women in the workplace. And I think it's important as well just like we have started these discussions about women inclusion long ago, and we see that there are a lot of, allies that are men that are coming into the picture. So it's important as well that men understand their roles, in championing the inclusion of more and more women in the workplace. And talking a bit, about the rural areas as well, being in Mozambique, we all know the challenge of energy poverty, and we know, in the rural areas how it is. So I think that the key aspect as well is to look for ways to promote, entrepreneurship among women in the rural areas. So because I strongly believe that is one of the ways that we can actually ensure that more women are included, and as well help to achieve the so desired sustainable development as well. And one of the issues, or one of the aspects that is often forgotten, is that when we talk about careers in the energy industry specifically, or STEM fields, it's a pipeline problem, right? You don't have a lot of women in the boards because you don't have a lot of women coming out of university in the STEM related fields, and you don't have a lot of women going into the secondary school, and you don't have a lot of women attending school at all, right? So it's really a pipeline problem. So once we start addressing the issues, in the rural areas of access to energy and all of that, I think it's important as well to start working with the girls at the earlier age, to start stimulating them and making them understand that there are, these STEM careers. Yes, you can be an engineer, you can do this, you can do that. They need to be able to see other women in this field so that they can actually dream about it, because it's quite difficult for you to dream about something that you do not know or you do not see. You cannot become what you cannot see or you cannot dream, right? So it's important to work as well, with the girls in the earlier age, so that we actually make sure that we have a lot more representation of women, especially in the energy field. So this is really just what I wanted to highlight. And, using or applying all these different aspects that I mentioned, we'll be able to tackle, the SDG 7, that is access to energy, SDG 5, that is equality, women inclusion and equality, and SDG 4 as well, that is related to education, as we promote as well the inclusion of more girls in the STEM career. So that's really what I wanted to add on your question.
Yes, thank you. I completely agree with you. And I would like to say to every one of you that if you can go into the schools and to the college in order to explain what you do, and to say to young girls that they are able to have technical and scientific careers, please do that. I did it during all my career. I tried to encourage younger women to go to high school, to college, and to become engineer. In France, we have only 25% of girls in the engineering school. That is not very much. And the goal for sure is to make this number more important. And also, I would say that mentoring is very important also inside the companies. And I do not know if your companies already organize this kind of process, but also it is important to have mentors, female mentors, to show youngest professionals what kind of career they can have, and how they can manage both professional and personal life. And I would say each one of us is a potential mentor, and do not hesitate to be a mentor, even if you are very young with not a lot of experience, but you have already an experience to show and to share.
Thank you very much, Cecile. Ezinne, would you like to have an input on this as well?
Well, I would, but I see a lot of questions on the chat. So for the sake of time, perhaps we should go to some of the questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your consideration.
That's okay.
I would like to give a final comment to this panel discussion, which is that it's very crucial to hear from you who are these great women of value, because we also see what we can also dream about it. We know now that we don't have to go small. We can dream really, really big, and it's actually possible for all of us, especially as women that we are a minority in the energy sector. Moving to Q&A sessions. We have a few questions in the chat box. Perhaps we can start with a question to Ezinne. How do you identify skill gaps and know the necessary qualities to imbibe?
Okay, thanks, Anna, for the question. I think this is okay. So in terms of identifying skill gaps, right? One of the key things that has been mentioned by Cecile here, as well as by Jocelyne, is you envisioning where you want to be, okay? Because the skill gap is going to help you to look at where you are and where you're going to. I can tell you that I, for one, I've done this. I do this all the time as an assessment. So I don't know who the question is or your background, but I would say the first thing is to write where you are today. Are you a fresh graduate? Are you an engineer? Do you have 5 years experience, and what area? And then the next table next to it is where you want to go. You can start with 1 or 2 career options. And if, for example, that is, you want to go into tech and the programming, and then you say, okay, if you don't know what skills are required, you can do a quick search on LinkedIn with that job title, for example. There's so much on LinkedIn that is available for free. You will see the title, and by the time you look at 1, 2, 3 positions, you'd be able to identify the job requirements, right? So you write it down. So you look at the job requirements, you look at what you have, and then you start identifying the gap. That will help you know what you need to do to bridge the gap. So I think this is this will probably be the best way for you to go about that.
Thank you, Ezinne. The next question is for Jocelyne. When you don't have a lot of experience, how then does one weed out the options and see a clear path? If you haven't tried it, and how do you know?
Thank you for the question, and it's really a great question. But just like you said, when you just start your career, it's okay to make mistakes, right? It's okay to not know certain things because you haven't experienced. But again, one of the key aspects on this one is also about having the mentors that Cecile just mentioned. It's important in our career to find mentors that are, professionals, that seasoned professionals with experience in different fields, people that you aspire or that you admire. And, you see that, okay, I want to be like that person, or I would like to be in that position in the future. So you look for those people and you engage with them and, just tell them, okay, this is my plan. This is my goal. I would like to, my ultimate goal is to become a manager in the reservoir department. But then I have these options. I wanted to know from you, okay, what is the best option, or what will be your decision? Because, the advantage of having mentors is that you don't have to experience it all by yourself, but you can benefit from their knowledge, right? They have gone through it, they have overcome it, and they can share with you. So that's really the advantage of having mentors. So one of the key aspects that I tell you is look for mentors, look for people that have been there or are ahead ahead the line or in the position that you aspire to be in the future, and talk to them, have that kind of conversations. But number 2, don't be afraid of making mistakes. When you're in the early days of your career, it's much easier it's okay to make mistakes, so don't really, be like, okay, I'm afraid of making this decision because otherwise it's going to jeopardize. There is always time, to restart. So don't look at yourself, don't put a lot of pressure on you, because like you said, you don't have experience. You can leverage on the experience of your mentors, but don't take that as a burden. So that really would be my advice to you, my practical advice. And those are the things that I personally have done in my career. I had a lot of conversations with mentors. They have advised me, and based on the inputs, I've made my decisions. Some were good, some not really. But I mean, in the earlier days of my career, it was fine. It was okay. It was also a process of learning, and becoming the person that I wanted to be. So that's really what I would advise. Thank you.
Thank you, Jocelyne. As much as we would like to continue with the questions, with the panel discussion, the time is not our friend today. But I would like to ask one last question to Cecile, which is, have you ever experienced resistance when you were leading men, and how did you deal with such situation?
Yes, of course, I've experienced some problems with men when I began to manage teams. They were not used of being managed by women. I had two cases, in fact, two different. One, I remember when I arrived in Argentina, one of the geophysicists was very scared of me because he thought, well, this woman is a manager, so she's very, very bad woman. She is very tough. She's very, and so it was very strange for me because we were in a meeting and he almost fainted in front of me. He was so scared. And the other and completely opposite event was at the beginning of my professional career. So one of the technicians I worked with didn't accept to do what I asked him to do. And well, I decided to explain to him that I was not against him and against the man, but I was here to realize the work, and we would do this work as best as possible together. And so every time I had some problems with the men who didn't like my position, I tried to have a conversation with them, one-to-one, very smooth conversation, very kind conversation, with benevolence, and trying to listen them what they want to explain, and with respect, and really it works well. So if you keep the contact, if you keep communication, if you explain what you want to do with them, if you if you highlight your aim to work as a team, everything will go right, I think.
Thank you very much, Cecile. Well, feel free to follow Jocelyne, Ezinne, and Cecile on LinkedIn. I believe they still have a lot to teach and to share with all of you. And now I would like to give the floor to my co-moderator, Amala.
Thank you very much. Now we have a little fun for all of us. And please, we crave your indulgence, so please remain with us. It's not going to take time. It's a quick trivia on women leaders in our industry and a little about the event. And the top score leaders, we are going to feature them in our social media. So it's just for fun, so please feel free to join. So to take part, you have to go to this www.bookclap.com. And I think I will also drop a link in the chat. Go and to I dropped the link. Please go there, just type in a username and just participate in the event. So I'm going to start sharing my screen on the quiz immediately. Oh, okay. All right. So, like I said, go to this place and join. I can see we already have 5 people, 7, 8. Oh, thank you. Please, let's increase it more. We are 20 something. Okay. Oh. Okay, all right. Because of no time, we are going to just go straight to the quiz. So I added extra one from the event, 11 questions, and each of them you have 50 seconds to answer. So please feel free to just enjoy yourself. It's not, we are not going to grade it, but of course you are going to feature our 3 score leaders. All right, here we go. I hope we are all set to go. All right, for the first question. So we are SPE. We would like to know who is the first female president of SPE? First female president of SPE. Time up, sorry for that. The next question is, what is the title of this event? What is the title of this event? All right, thank you. The next question we have is, which day is celebrated as the world's Women's Day? Which day? All right. The next is, why there have been female prime minister before her? Who is the first woman to be elected president of a country? Yes. Yeah, just click anything. I can see we only have 4 people. But anyway, let's go ahead. Thank you. Yeah, in this event, who was the name of our keynote speaker? Please, the 2 names, the 2 of them. Hope you have time to type it. Thank you. Okay, we have other panelists in this event. Could you please select them? Multiple choice is only one choice. All right. This woman is the regional director of SP Europe. Yeah, our school is in SP Europe, so that's why the question. Okay, thank you again. Now, of course, leadership is only for men and not for women. Is it true or false? I expect everyone to have this. Okay. He credited as the first vice president in the United States. Thank you for your participation. Okay, this question is about the current World Trade Organization Director General. And the last but not the least, based on our event, what makes up the key, as stated by the keynote speaker? 3 multiple choices, of course. All right, time to review our winners. Thank you for participation. Let's see who they are. Come on. Wow, breaking glass ceilings. Okay, Lily and Amma, congratulations to all of to the three of you. Please, I'm going to drop my email. Just the email, send me your name, the LinkedIn profile, and feature if you can, so that we can use it to feature you guys in our social media. Thank you so much for being part of this. Anna, I think the last. Okay, yeah, we have a photograph session. Please, it's time to smile for the camera. All right, everyone is for everyone, please. Everyone, we need everyone. Would you please on your video and show us your beautiful faces? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think we can have more. Don't be shy. Cecile told us to know that we are women of value. So we are beautiful and we need to see your face in this photo session. All right. Are you sure you don't want to open more? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, we are going to have the first take. Don't worry, we have 3 takes. If you take is not beautiful, just change your style. Okay, we are going to take the first one. 1, 2, go. Okay, I've taken that. The second one, you might want to change your style. All right. We have that. And finally, the last one. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. And now I'm going to hand over to Anna for the closing remark. Thank you.
I think Anna is on mute. We can't hear you.
Thank you so much. Well, to end our session, I would like to first thank our guests. They are indeed women of value and they have shared a lot today. And I believe that they still have a lot to share. So once again, feel free to follow them on LinkedIn and bombard them with questions. Thank you to everyone participating. It means a lot, especially for those who were busy doing other things. So it means a lot that you saved a little bit of time to learn from these great women. Ezinne, Cecile, and Jocelyne, would you like to say anything to the participants before we close the session?
Yes, of course. I would like to thank you very much for having invited me to this very interesting event. I was very glad to meet Ezinne and Jocelyne, even by screen. And please believe in your future. You have a great way in front of you. Be strong and be proud of you all.
Thank you, Cecile.
I wish you the best for your future. I was very happy to participate.
Thank you very much, Cecile. We look forward to having more webinars with you.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that. Thank you so much, Cecile. It was a pleasure meeting you. Just looking at the basically the years of the experience that you had, right, in industries. It's really great meeting you. You know, you guys are the pillars of what the industry is today, right? So pleasure meeting you. For those that connected, thank you so much for the questions, engagement. Immaculata, Anna, really good job. Well done. Jocelyne, nice meeting you again. I actually forgot you were in Mozambique, so I was there last week. I should have actually given you giving you a call. Yes. So yeah, I left on Saturday. So that was when I saw Mozambique. I just didn't remember. It was nice to meet you again and remember you and reconnect. So I hope we meet in person. And thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you very much, Ezinne.
Let me also take the opportunity, Anna, just to say thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you for the organization. As for the SB chapter at IFB school. Well done, ladies. It was great to be here. Thank you to everyone who connected. Thank you for the great questions, great engagement. Like we said, we are available on LinkedIn, so please feel free to connect. Good to see you, Ezinne. So next time, please. Cecile, nice to meet you, and I hope to keep in touch with all of you. Thank you so much. Good evening.
Thank you very much, Jocelyne. Feel free to follow us on our social media, on Instagram and on LinkedIn, and stay tuned for more webinars. I deeply apologize for the delay on the start of the webinar. We had some technical issues, but thank you again for bearing with us for those few minutes. And well, we shall see you again in the next webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Immaculata.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.